Hello, Rob here, and coming up on R&B Reviews, I'm going to be reviewing It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, starring Tom Hanks as the late beloved children's show host Fred Rogers. I will have my review coming right up.
Welcome to R&B Reviews. Sit back and enjoy and watch the review. Like and subscribe right now.
Thank you very much for checking out R&B Reviews. Now, this was an interesting experience for me because this is one of the very few times I've been reviewing movies for this channel that I didn't really see a trailer before going into the movie. So I was kind of going into this movie cold, although I had heard about it. I knew Tom Hanks was playing Fred Rogers, and I thought it was going to be a biopic because we've been seeing a lot of biopics lately, although they've been more on the, rock side, like Rocket Man about Elton John or Bohemian Rhapsody about Freddie Mercury and Queen. So when I went to see this movie, and after it started playing, I started seeing scenes with Matthew Rhys as a journalist named Lloyd, and I was like, where exactly is this movie going? But as the movie went on, I realized that Mr. Rogers, he's an important part of the story, but he's not really exactly the lead character. The movie's not really about him, but he's important to the story. And I guess in some ways it's like what would happen if Mr. Rogers had made a feature film of one of his episodes. But basically, it's based on the true story of a real-life friendship between Fred Rogers and a journalist named Tom Junod, who came to write an article about Rogers called Can You Say Hello? So I thought this movie was a very well-done drama. It's, as I mentioned, it's not really a movie exactly about Mr. Rogers in a biopic sense, but like I said, he's important to the story. It's about a cynical magazine writer named Lloyd, who is kind of the surrogate of Tom, who is assigned to write a profile of Fred Rogers, who had a children's show on PBS in the US that started, I believe, from the mid-60s and ran right up until the early 2000s that generations of children like myself watched. Lloyd really doesn't get along with his father, played by Chris Cooper, which affects Lloyd's personal life with his wife and newborn baby, as well as his career as a journalist. The film deals with Lloyd's journey from overcoming his pain and anger and to learn kindness and empathy, as well as the process of healing and forgiveness, all while trying to do interviews with Fred Rogers. The performances for this movie I thought were excellent. Tom Hanks really captured Rogers' gentle warmth and speech patterns very well. Even if he doesn't exactly sound or look like him, in some ways it feels like you are kind of seeing Fred Rogers nonetheless. And Matthew Rhys played a great jaded journalist who doesn't really want the assignment. And once he meets Fred Rogers, he wants to see if Fred is he like how he is off screen like he is on the TV. And I really like the contrast between these two. Fred sees the good in everybody, and he accepts that we're not perfect as human beings. However, Lloyd doesn't really see the good in anyone. I really like the scenes where Lloyd is interviewing Fred and demonstrated what a good talker that Fred Rogers was in real life. He was great with conversations, and he wanted to know more about the people he was talking to. And Lloyd just doesn't want to be there. He just sees the profile as another job. The movie also explores how Fred Rogers didn't really like talking about himself and his feelings openly, which I thought was very interesting. And fans of the show will definitely like some of the things that this movie does. For example, the footage of Tom Hanks' Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood is shot almost like the same video quality that the actual show did. And what's interesting is many fans will remember whenever Fred Rogers was leaving his home to go somewhere else, there was always shots of like models of buildings and cars and airplanes flying to sort of transition from one place to another. And they do that here when, like for example, when Lloyd leaves New York to go to Pittsburgh, there's like a model plane flying across and some buildings that look like Pittsburgh or New York or what have you. So I think fans of the show will like that as well. The movie has been out for a while, and if you haven't seen it, I do recommend seeing it. It's a very good character drama. I thought it was very thought-provoking with a good relevant message about, carrying anger with you and the process of just letting it go. So I would definitely say, see this movie. All right, well, if you have seen It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, what did you think about it? Go ahead and post your comments below, as well as any feedback you might have for me. And if you're interested, please hit that like button and check out some other reviews of movies that are currently in the theaters, or something you can watch in the comforts of your own home. Thank you very much for watching.